What advice would you give Drew Brees today if he asked for it?
Take some time away and just give it some real thought. I mean, I know he's been thinking about this for a long time. He's been doing it a long time, of course. But I think he just needs to get away and let some time pass. It's hard to make these kinds of decisions after a tough loss like what he just experienced.
But you went through this even when you retired, and then you flirted with coming back. Like,
Yeah,
what is that urge that you got with those two or three different times where you thought about it?
yeah. Well, the first one was San Diego with the Chargers. It was as soon as I got released by the Cowboys, I had considered going to the Chargers, and then they ended up signing Doug Flutie, and that was actually Drew Brees' rookie year. They drafted Drew that year. We would have been teammates had I have gone. But it was a couple years later when I heard from Andy Reid and the Philadelphia Eagles, and then a year after that, my third year out, when Dave Wanstead and Norv Turner were with the Dolphins, and asked if I would consider coming out. And I think what it is, Dan, is for me, I was actually 34 when I retired. So to still feel like you can do it and have your health and then miss the competition of it, now I'm fully satisfied in my job of broadcasting. But early on, it was hard walking out of a stadium and not knowing whether you had won or lost. But I think for Drew, because of his age, he's 42 years old, that the days are kind of, not totally. He could still play another year, of course, but he's not going to have the window of opportunity. I just didn't want to look back and just think, man, I wish I'd given it another shot. In hindsight, I'm glad I didn't do it. But at the time, it was a real urge, and I was going to do it for the Dolphins. At the end of the day, Rick Spielman was the general manager, and he's the one who ultimately just couldn't pull the trigger on it. They thought they were a quarterback away from going to the Super Bowl, but as it turned out, they really were not that good. I think the team went 6-10 that season, and so as I watched the Dolphins play that year, I thought, wow, I'm really glad. I don't think I wouldn't have made a big difference to that team.
But I wonder about Drew Brees. You walk off the field. You don't want to walk off this way. At
No
home,
way.
three interceptions. But when you win, Troy, there's part of you that says, I want to do it again. Like, why?
Yeah.
Like Elway, limped away. He didn't walk away. He limped away after winning. Peyton knew he couldn't play anymore. Like, it feels like that's the only way you can walk away from winning is if you're barely able to walk away.
I agree with you, and that's a great point. If you had asked me early in the season, midway or so, if I thought Tom Brady was going to come back, even though he gave the Bucs a 2-year commitment, I would have said it's 50-50, as much as Tom has said he's going to play for X number of years. Now, he's having the most fun he's had, and they're winning, that there's no way he's not going to come back next year. So, and I agree with you as far as it goes for Drew, that I mean, it's been an amazing career, of course, the all-time leading passer, but that was one of his worst games of his career. It was the worst game of the season. And to have that be your final performance and go out, short of winning the Super Bowl, you're going to go out not having won, but that's going to gnaw at him. He's a great competitor and a real disappointment. I don't think ultimately that's going to be decisive in whether or not he decides to come back.